This week's episode of Fireside is brought to you by Legends of Belize and Wonders Oddities Expo.
Hello, everybody. You're listening to Fireside Paranormal Podcast. My name is Jordan Cline. I have a great show planned out today. My guest tonight is Nick Simons. He is one of the stars of the Netflix series 28 Days Haunted. If you haven't seen it yet, go see it. Lots of fun. Before we get to Nick, just a few announcements.
Legends of Belize is a series about mythical creatures that dwell in the jungles and waters of Belize. The Belizean legends are captured, documented, and preserved like never before in a comprehensive art series and books with fully colored and detailed images of fine art by artists, authors, and award-winning animators Dismas and Grissy G. Discover the supernatural creatures that await deep in the jungles, such as the mysterious dwarf called Tata Duende with backwards feet known to rip the thumbs off of trespassers, or the beautiful shape-shifting woman known to locals as the Ishtabai, who seduces drunks to never be seen again. These creatures and many more can be found in the Legends of Belize books. Learn about the cryptozoological, paranormal, and unexplained creatures that haunt Belize. Be fascinated, be terrified, Belize. Legend of Belize books are available in print and ebook. Buy your copy from your favorite online bookstores such as Amazon, KDP, Apple Books, and many more. Also be sure to visit legendsofbelize.com.
The Wonders Oddities Expo and Tri-State Exotic Animal Expo will be joining forces again at the West Virginia State Penitentiary in Moundsville on March 25th and 26th. It's a Saturday and Sunday. That Saturday, it'll be open from 12 to 8, Sunday 10 to 5, and tickets are $10 at the door. I will be set up there. I'll have all my recording stuff, so I know y'all like to come over and share your personal paranormal stories with me. I'll be there set up to record. So come see me, come say hi, come tell me your stories. I'll also have a little bit of merch there. But if you are in the area, again, that is the 25th and 26th, make sure you come and say hi. For today's featured story, we are going to go to Jamie from Wellsburg.
Hey everyone, my name's Jamie Alamond, and I am from Wellsburg, West Virginia, and this is my story. All right, so back in 1991, my parents bought a house. It was new to us, not to the area. And whenever we moved in, I started having some experiences. So things would happen. I would wake up in the middle of the night, and mind you, I was just a kid at the time, so like 2-3 years old. Yes. And this old man would come into my room, and he would always be like in grayscale colors. And he would stand at the foot of my bed, and he would just talk to me. And he wanted to play games. He'd try and keep me up all night. And it was really distracting. It was really uncomfortable. I would call for my parents, and they'd be like, oh, it's just your imagination. Go back to bed. Meanwhile, once I got older, I found out they had their own experiences. So, as I get older, I start to talk to them more and more about it. And I bring up the old man in the house. And then they're like, oh yeah, the old man that built our house died here. And he also, we had our own experiences with him. And so I had them elaborate a little more. And Mom was being held down in bed at night, and Dad was hearing footsteps upstairs around my room.
Perfectly normal.
Yeah, so imaginative, you know. Yeah. So as I get older, and we kind of hash all that stuff out and just kind of forget about it, I had to move back into my parents' house for a couple months, transitioning into my husband and I's new house. And while I'm there, I'm home alone. It's about to storm. The windows were up because it was a nice July day. My dad calls me and says, hey, can you shut the windows at the house? And so I'm like, sure, of course. I am in the bathroom, my least favorite room of the house, and lean over the tub, and I go to shut the window, and I hear a male's voice say, get out. And I look around, because at first I think, oh, my dad's here, and he's just playing a joke on me. But then I notice that all the dogs are at the door waiting to go outside, and I become instantly uncomfortable. So I exited the house, and I was like, okay, I'll leave for a few minutes, bye. And so I leave, and then I come back in, and I'm like, okay, got to take control of the space again. So, like, about 7 more years later pass, and I'm doing some more events. I become a Reiki master at this point, and I get introduced to a lady named Becky. Well, the house that my parents bought was Becky's family's house.
Okay.
Yeah, so now it gets a little bit more interesting. Yes. Becky's grandparents built the house. They were super protective of the land around it. Like, it was only sold off to family, and the grandma, like, Becky's grandma was very, she kept a shotgun above her bed. She was a very strong lady. Now, I started talking to Becky, and I was like, I think that I've met your pap. And so she's like, really? And she gets like this smile on her face, and she's like, please tell me more. And so I start describing him to her, and I was like, he's got suspenders, and he's kind of a shorter guy, and he's bald, and he's clean shaven. And she, like, her eyes widen, and she's like, you're describing him. And I was like, yeah, and he used to come in my room when I was little, and he would try and talk to me and play games and stuff, but I really didn't want to be bothered. And she said that checks out perfectly, because he was very much a kid-friendly person. He loved to be around kids, look out for kids, and she felt like he was keeping an eye on me. So I thought that it was really cool, and we got to see pictures of her family and kind of have a full circle. Oh, I also forgot, when we moved in, there were some really old pictures in the attic from like the 1700s. Okay. And they were painting, like oil paintings, and had the dates on the back. Yeah. And we kept them around. They were honestly creepy pictures of like little kids and stuff. And we kept them around, and Becky took them, and honestly, the house has been a lot more peaceful since the pictures. Really liked those pictures. He really liked those pictures. Wanted to go back to the family, I guess. But yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jamie. And if you want your story to be one of our featured stories, just send me an email, firesideparanormalpodcast@gmail.com.
How much do you really know about the paranormal? Can it ever truly be explained or understood? Many say no. I say bet. Hi, I'm Kristen, host of the Paranormal Girl podcast. My show is a binge-worthy, immersive education of the paranormal. Each season, we explore all aspects and angles of a supernatural topic, unraveling its mystery one fact, theory, or personal story at a time. Overcome your fear, celebrate the unknown, and arrive at a well-informed understanding by catching new episodes of Paranormal Girl anywhere you get your podcasts.
All right, I want to get to my guest. Join me by the fire as we welcome Nick Simons. He is from the Netflix show 28 Days Haunted. Nick, you with us?
I am here. You got a nice warm fire, Jordan. Thanks for having me over.
Warm up and scooch in. We got some marshmallows.
Is that pine? I hear it crackling.
I do want to get like some kind of little sound effect underneath it, but I'm too lazy to do it.
You want me to give you my art list login info? Maybe you can check.
Yeah. There, we'll do that.
We can do that.
All right, Nick, man. Congrats on your show. First and foremost, because you know everybody's watching that. I had so many before I even started watching it. Like, my Twitter was blowing up with, "Have you seen this? Have you seen this? Are you watching this? What are your thoughts here?" I'm like, I got to watch this.
Mostly people ripping it to shreds.
You get that with everything. But
Yeah,
people are talking about it.
Yep. Even before I got into ghost hunting, I call it ghost hunting because, you're not always talking to a hardcore investigators that are, I research the paranormal and I have a theory about alpha, gamma, and beta rays. That was me making fun of Aaron. I can do that. Aaron G. Thompson, who's also on the show with me, is also a good friend of mine. But anyways, you're not always talking to people like that. So I just say, I ghost hunt. And they're like, oh, okay, you're a Ghostbuster. Well,
yeah, there you go.
That far. But yeah, I don't have the proton pack. But
Yet.
yeah. Where was I going with that? Oh, before I started ghost hunting, back in 2009, I worked a lot in the haunted attraction industry, and you could have 1,000 people go through in a night and have one guy hate it, and you focus on that one guy that hates it. Kind of like with the show, like I just said, it got ripped apart online, but there was also a bunch of people that liked it and enjoyed it. So I need to learn to focus more on that. But I think with it being on Netflix and a global platform, I was more interested in looking in the horrible reviews in a different language.
Right? Yeah.
Without hitting translate. Boy, they are upset.
Are those squiggly lines all in caps?
He typed an upside down house with a goat in it. That is not good.
I don't know what it means, but it doesn't look happy.
Yeah.
That's kind of like if you just focus, like if you start thinking about yellow cars, all you start seeing is yellow cars. Back when I did a show before this called Whispers Radio, and I was one of them. I was always focused on the comments and the reviews. I just wanted to see what people. I was in my like early 20s, and man, people are brutal. And it was because it was AM radio. I just recorded, you know what I mean? So it was AM radio. Right. We recorded it and we podcasted it. It was like 2008, so everything was still new. And man, these people sound like radio disc jockeys from the 70s and stuff. It's like we were on AM radio. Like we pretty much were. I mean,
but there's a question that has to be asked there where you guys like, welcome back to Whispers Radio. I'm Jordan. Hey, we got a caller. Go ahead, caller.
Dude, some of the stuff was so brutal. I'm like looking at him like, I don't even want to do the show tomorrow. And it was all live. Like, you don't have a choice. I'm like, all right.
You have to. You signed up for this. Damn it.
And then I quit. I just quit looking at them. And then I stopped caring. Yeah. The show got a lot better. But see, I mean, you really can't focus on that because you're never going to make everybody happy all the time.
Could you imagine the reviews that like Art Bell used to get, or even the reviews that George Norrie gets now? I mean, they get enough of maniacs calling in, which is chef's kiss. Keep those calls coming in, but I can only imagine the reviews are twice as bad.
Oh man, people hate on George. George
is awesome. I think about the only one I don't like is Connie Willis. Yeah. She's gonna hear this and fly down to Iowa.
Tear you up.
Yeah.
Now, how long have you been investigating? Because we talked before that you used to do some stuff on YouTube. So how long ago was this?
I got started investigating with Aaron, who you can also see on the show 28 Days Haunted. He's the guy that cries because him and I had a fight. It's fine now. Everything's fine now. We're best buddies again. But
y'all hugged it out.
Yeah. Sometime around 2009, him and my wife used to work together, and at a like a call center facility. And he was running around work one day. It was like, hey, I'm going to start a ghost group, this and that. And my wife was like, why don't you take Nick? He's as big as a door.
That's the qualification right there.
2023. Here we are. We just got home this weekend from going up to Wisconsin to investigate up at the Washura County Jail in Watoma, Wisconsin. And that was a pretty cool investigation. They actually housed Ed Gein there for a little while. Yeah, right after they arrested him. That was the first jail that he went to. And let's just say they used some questionable interrogation tactics on him in that jail.
I'm sure they did.
Yeah. So when I was there investigating, I was really honed in on that energy. Was there anybody here that saw that? I'm talking to the spirits that have been here since, 1906 when the jail opened. And it was an interesting investigation. But back to your original question, Aaron and I got started in 2009, and around 2015, him and I started posting videos to YouTube. So if you want to see baby Nick and Aaron,
oh yeah,
don't rock the cradle. Go to YouTube and just search Ghost Crier, like Town Crier, Crier, videos, and you will see our old videos way before they were famous.
With the baby face, did you have the beard?
No,
Oh.
there's a couple videos where you get some scruff, but now, yeah, now I look like I've fought in the Civil War the whole time, start to finish. But
No, I love it. Yeah. We got to screenshot that and hang it up somewhere.
yeah, I'll hold up my antique Ouija board back there. That'll get people excited. I'm gonna listen just so I can be mad about that Ouija board.
Oh my gosh, we get all kinds. Really? So what was the process? Like you still do an investigation. How many people do you have? Like, do you have like an official group, or is it the two of you that just go out whenever you want to have fun?
Yeah. In the early days, we had an official group. We actually did some residential investigations way back in the early days, 2010. And at that time, it was him, myself, and two other people.
Mhm.
And now, from the dawn of the 2015 all the way to now, it's just him and I. There was a time there on YouTube where we had a active historian with us who was also a high school history teacher, which was awesome because he'd just be pulling stuff out of thin air like, how'd you know that? And he's like, I'm a history teacher, duh.
It's what I do.
We had an investigator in training who also doubled as our chef when we held public investigations. She only cooked vegan food, which, as a big guy, you got to keep in mind I'm 6'7", 320 pounds. I mean, I'm like, ew, vegan food. But then I tried it. And I'm like, you just going to throw all that away? You mind if I take it home? I'm going to eat some meatless bean enchiladas for the rest of the week. We had a camera guy. Pandemic hit. Everything kind of fizzled out. And now it's just back to being Aaron and I. Just going out and exploring on our own, and appearing places on our own.
Do you still do like video? Do you still put it on YouTube?
I have a monster camera. I have a Canon XA50 just waiting to go. But we haven't filmed anything since appearing on Netflix. I'd like to, though. I miss it. It was if you grow up filming your own stuff and putting it on YouTube, then cross over into the Netflix world or any big production. Whew, it's a rude awakening there. You go from being the creative director yourself to shut up and sit down. All right.
All right, so I want to ask, like, how did it become so? Like, where did you go from just you and your buddy going out to being chosen for this show?
Aaron is he's a popular guy. Aaron just got called one day. There, another person that was selected for the interview process for the show. They're like, we need 2 more people. So that person called Aaron, and Aaron was like, I got a guy. And he called me up and he's like, you want to do this? And I was like, yeah, why not? Back up a little bit behind the scenes. When you're putting videos and stuff like that out on YouTube, you get calls all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had producers call us almost every year from the time we started putting videos out until this Netflix. And almost 99% of the time, you do the 1 hour meeting with them and nothing ever happens with it. They kind of just like, well, we'll be in touch. And anybody that's had a job in the last 40 years knows that that's not a good sign.
Yeah.
And so we did the interview with the Netflix people, and they're like, well, we'll be in touch. So I'm like, well, I'm going to go back to work. And basically we forgot about it probably for 3 months. And I was actually on vacation with the wife and the neighbors, and I was actually fishing on the Mississippi River, catching catfish.
There you
And
go.
Aaron's like, "You're not gonna believe this, but those Netflix people want to talk to us again." I was like, "What?" And yeah, so packed up and came home, and it was pretty much, yeah, you guys are in. Congratulations.
So you had to like quit your job and everything. I mean, you were there for a month.
Well, I've been at my job, my job. I've been there since 2010, and I'm a higher up salary. So I was just like, hey, here's the deal. I'm gonna take 30 days of vacation. And they were like, for what? And I told them, they're like, oh, that's awesome. Go, go, go. And yeah,
That's cool.
took all the time off I needed for 28 days, and then showed up, came back on the day I was supposed to be back, walked in, walked right by HR and smacked their cubicle. And I said, I'm back. The HR girl like threw a pen and flinched really hard. And yeah.
That was, sadly, for whatever reason, that was like one of my first thoughts. Like I think it was in the first episode. I was like, how did they get off for that long?
Yeah, there's a couple people on the show that were living the dream and just kind of making their living off of chasing the paranormal. But for the most part, I know for me, I was working, Ray was working, Jeremy was working, not sure any of the other people, but yeah, Jeremy is a firefighter. So he was just like, hey, I ain't going to be able to put any fires out for 28 days. I'll be back.
Did you get to get to know all the other people on the show?
I actually didn't know who else was on the show outside of Aaron, Sean, and myself until a year later. We actually had to fly out to LA to do some additional recordings. And I was just sitting on the patio kind of by myself enjoying a beer. And then it was like, hey, I think that's Shane Pittman right there. And I was like, hey, man. He goes, what's up? I go, I think we're on the same project. He goes, we might be. And so he sat down and we started, just hanging out, talking. And then eventually more and more people showed up. And at the time, I had just downloaded Discovery Plus and was working my way through just a bunch of different shows on there, because at the end of the day, I'm still a fan of the TV shows. I know there's a lot of people out there that act tough and they're like, I don't watch the TV shows.
Yeah.
That's the reason most of us are here. We saw it in Monkey See, Monkey Do. That looks like fun. That looks interesting. And so I just finished watching Ghosts of Morgan City, and he still gives me crap about it to this day. But Jeremy Leonard walked out, and I was like, "No way!" I yelled that out loud, and he got this big Cajun smile on his face, and yeah, it was a starstruck moment for me. Fast forward to this year, him and I do a podcast together ourselves.
Yeah, come on.
And he won't let that die. You were all starstruck, this, that. I'm like, listen, I just watched the show. Had I watched the show when it come out, I would have probably been like, that's Jeremy Leonard. All right.
You were in the process of watching. It's kind of a big deal.
Yeah. It was
all right. So like you're doing this production stuff. Like, what is it like while you're there? Right. Because what we see is just like, just a few folks like in the house by themselves, but like there's different camera angles. I know they have cameras set up. Like, were you guys completely alone for those days? Did you have like some people outside, like eating granola bars, like y'all hungry? Like what was it like?
Oh man, this story is always a joy to tell. So inside the house, including the little backpack camera that you see us carrying around on the show, there was 15 additional like wall mounted robotic cameras that were connected to a little bitty trailer outside. And there's actually a drone shot. I forget which episode it's in, but they're flying over Captain Grant's, where I stayed. Oh, by the way, I'm from the Connecticut team. If you are just tuning in, I was in the Connecticut house. But there's a drone shot where they're flying over and you can see just the corner of their production trailer hidden behind a tree. And yeah, So at all times there was somebody there watching those robo cameras just to see like if we'd wake up during the middle of the night and be like, there's a shadow in my room, whatnot. And they could capture all that and record the timestamp and have all that documented. As far as people being in the house, no. The only people that were allowed in the house was us and the producers.
Okay,
And
so
if
how often were the producers there?
the producers were there every day, but they'd be in the house for, probably an hour.
Okay.
Come in, do interviews, or come in and kind of give us direction of what they wanted to see out of the night's investigation. It was never really, all right, you guys are going to go to X and record EVP, and then you're going to go to Y and record SB7. It was just kind of like, tonight, let's try to focus less on SB7 and do some other experiments, because they hated the SB7.
Why?
I think it was their audio guy would be wearing headphones like you and I are, and we were all wired up with lavaliers. So you're standing there holding an SB7 speaker, and he's like, it's a little loud.
Or he's just getting creeped out. I mean, he's alone in a van by himself. Like,
at the end of the night when everybody would go home, it'd just be a couple people out in the trailer, and like Aaron and Sean would go to sleep, and I'd be up on my laptop just listening to the audio, and I'd find like really creepy stuff. And they had it set up to where I could plug something into the headphone jack of my computer, and it would port it out to their little trailer. So I'd walk you out there. I'm like, hey, you guys want to hear something really creepy? And it was always a guy and a girl, and the girl would be like, no, but you're probably going to play it for us. I'd plug them in and play it for them, and they'd be like, turn it off. I can't. I have to go outside to use the restroom tonight. I don't need to hear that. It was fun to screw with them.
So after watching it, because I'm sure you watched the whole deal, because there were other investigations, stuff like that going on. Did you have any envy of another location? Are you happy with where you were? Do you wish you maybe got stuck somewhere else?
I wouldn't have minded being in North Carolina. That looked like a riot.
Yeah.
With all the stuff going on. But at the same time, behind the scenes, just from being close with Jeremy, they didn't have a kitchen like we did. We had the Cadillac of kitchens. Then it would have been Denver had the next kitchen. And then coming in at a really low third was North Carolina. They had a hot plate.
That was the one in the dry goods store, right?
Yep, that was Madison Dry Goods. They had a hot plate. They didn't have a shower. Production had to build them a shower and get one of those like camp water heaters that had like 10 minutes of hot water.
That's why they kept trying to leave.
Yeah. Or Jeremy had to have a heart attack to get out of there.
Like,
which he actually
while
did
I'm
have
out
a heart
there.
attack.
He did really?
He did really. He had a mild one. And then 2 weeks after he got home, he had a massive heart attack that could have gone south really quick. But he's okay. He's still alive. And since then, he's made some changes to his lifestyle and had a procedure done. And now he's a little skinny guy now. He used to be a big guy like me, and now he's all skin and bones. I just turn his camera off when him and I FaceTime. I don't want to see you. You're hideous. You look.
Who is this guy? Now, do you think, as far, I know you said he changed his lifestyle and stuff like that, but they were dealing with like some demonic type stuff that, they at least felt. Do you think anything that maybe he was going through was brought on by that? Because he was kind of being oppressed, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. He says that none of that really affected him. He feels that just the stress of being in the situation, well, that kind of affects him. Then he said that, it could have been the stress of being in that situation. But I always tell him, I'm like, you're from you're from deep in Louisiana. You were raised on deep fried Cheerios, so that's probably part of the problem there, bud. And he did say, actually, on the last time we chatted, that before he even went and filmed 28 Days Haunted, they were telling him, if you want to live to see the show out, come out, you better make some changes and this and that. And unfortunately, it just caught up to him, but luckily he's okay. I mean, he's a firefighter EMT. His wife's a firefighter EMT. So I think when he had the big one, she was right there to
That's good.
get him taken care of, and everybody was, on top of things. And that
Wow.
probably is what allowed him to be with us today.
That's probably what saved him right there. She was quick on it.
Because, I mean, there's some guys down at work that are macho. I'd probably be the same way. Oh, I'm fine. I get a little heartburn. Shouldn't have had that that hot sauce, that Tapatio hot sauce is biting back, this and that. And macho has taken out a lot of people over the years.
That's
so.
for sure. That's 100%. With the way you investigate and do things, you were on the show and said you were a skeptic, right? How does somebody who doesn't really believe do so much in it? Right? How does that all fit in, or has your ideas kind of switched a little from that?
No, my ideas have not switched. It's more of I believe it when I see it. So everywhere I go, you can tell me all these insane stories about somebody getting drugged across the ceiling, like in Nightmare on Elm Street, and a burning bush and all that, blah, blah, blah. But I'll believe it when I see it. And until then, I'll kind of like side eye you like you're a crazy person. But seriously, though, I mean, I just want to see it with my own eyes. And when I retell stories of what happened, I'm just sharing my experience. And the paranormal, at the end of the day, it's not about what you film or what you present online. It's about your own personal experience that you had with it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can go to a public investigation and one guy will be crying and the next guy standing right next to him is like, what are you talking about? I don't feel anything. And that's just the way she goes. And I think me being a skeptic in the way that I described, it kind of allows me to walk into haunted locations, not like scared or nervous. Like most people go and they get the history of the location and get the stories of the experiences people had. And then they like go to that area where experience A happened and they're like, oh, this is it. And then any little thing that happens, they're like, there it is. That's the demon right there. And some of the best advice I've ever gotten is, you can't go in expecting anything.
Yeah.
Go in and expect nothing. And then when something does happen, it's like Christmas morning. Oh, I got a Nintendo. No way. When you're not expecting it and it happens, you'll always have the best investigation.
Now, Nick, has there ever been a situation, I guess, that made you believe, at least in a certain like haunting or a house or a building that you've been into?
I'd say anytime I hear my name on an EVP or I get my name on the SB7, and I know a lot of people don't like them, but I've actually gotten my full middle and last name on the necrophonic
Really?
application. Yeah. Not the Spiritus. Don't confuse the two, but necrophonic is pretty cool. And there's been some things that on the show, they didn't showcase it at all. But Sean actually had a Phasma box. That thing was pretty freaking cool too. A lot of neat things come out of that. But those electronic applications like that, if you listen to them long enough, which 28 days of investigating straight, there was no bye week, there was no days off. It was every single night. As soon as the sun set, it was time to investigate. We were the three amigos that dreaded sundown. We'd stand outside at night and watch it go behind the trees. No, come back. just another couple hours, please. But every single night of investigating and using, not so much the SB7 because that's always different. I've never really seen things repeat with that like they do with the electronic apps. And I'm not talking about like repeat things that you consider like compelling, but like repeat sounds coming out of them.
Well, every noise is programmed in, right?
Yeah.
So it's hard to not, especially after 28 days of really just the same thing.
Yeah. After 28 days of, hey, that's that sound that sounds like he said smoke cigarettes again. It just, you start to pick up on them after a while, but there's also, once you start to pick up all the sounds that are programmed into the device to come out, it makes it easier to pick up on the things that aren't programmed into the device to come out.
Is there anything that scares you?
Probably zombies. I know you're laughing.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
The funny thing about that is the producers, every day we'd have this interview, and they just kind of rotate back and forth between the three of us. All right, it's a Nick day, it's a Sean day, it's an Aaron day, and we'd go to the little interview room, and the other two guys would go outside and play with the geese. There was a lot of geese that would be around the property, so we did chase them around a lot, and they'd always look at you. But the producers, they asked that question just to kind of like create a story, because that was their job, to create a story out of our investigation. And they're like, is there anything that would ever make you leave? And I said, I don't know, zombies. They're like, be realistic. I'm like, I don't know, if fire starts and the house burns down. I guess I'd have to go then. They're like, so the ghosts would never make you leave. I was, no. If you wanted people to run out of here, why'd you hire seasoned investigators? Across the board, everybody that was on the show is a seasoned investigator. So if you wanted people to run screaming and yelling out of the house with all their stuff in the middle of the night, and then you go out and you put an ad on Craigslist and get whoever.
Get a bunch of fresh start YouTubers that have, been doing it for 3 weeks.
Yeah. Now I saw it on TV. I haven't ever read a book or anything, but we're going to give it a shot. Here we go. Hit go live.
Is there anybody here?
Got blocked by a lady on TikTok because she was filming a toilet and she was going berserk because the toilet tank was a different color. And I said, well, that's not haunted. That's just the water in the toilet tank. You don't know what you're talking about. Do you even know what paranormal is? And it's like, I was in the middle of typing, well, I was on Netflix, and boom, you cannot comment on this video. Oh.
Maybe you've never heard of me.
I was getting a cold draft, and in the middle of chatting, I was like, why is this cold? Never stop investigating, kids.
I'm feeling this cold draft. Not here.
There's
right
a
here.
child presence here. I think there was a child murdered here.
Come at me, bro.
I'm actually John Tenney wrote a book called Come At Me Ghost, and he wrote under a pseudonym, and it's like very bro. And there's a chapter about punching a ghost in the face, this and that, but I'm actually in the back of the book as a reviewer of the book, and that happened in 2012. That was way before they were famous. Part 2.
He once reviewed this book about beating a ghost up.
Yeah, I reviewed a book about beating a ghost up, and I think part of my review was, all I need is this book and a couple black T-shirts, and I'm ready to go.
Zach Baggins walked. Watch out.
Yeah, I'm coming for you, buddy. Now, when I say famous, I'm not referring to myself as famous. I tell HR all the time, our head of HR, he's a real cool guy. He goes, whoa, we get a celebrity here. I'm like, hey, Z-list paranormal celebrity, all right?
Oh, yeah.
Z-list. Then I'll go the extra mile and be like, I typed your name into Netflix and nothing came up. That's weird. And walk away.
Oh, that's weird.
Oh, sad.
Oh, Lord. So what got you into that? Like, were you one of those kids that were always into the spooky stuff, or did you just get like thrown into it and found it later on?
Bingo. You hit the nail on the head right there. I think it was a young boy around 8, 9. At the time, my mom was dating a guy that was in the process of renovating a former nursing home slash home for the friendless. It wasn't a poor farm. I think the definition would have been home for a friendless would have been like a poor farm, but in the city, that they don't actually have like a farm. They just kind of can go there and be weird little guys. um, so half of this nursing home started out its life in the late 1800s as a home for the friendless. And then in the 50s, they bought the lot next to it and built like a nursing home wing onto it. And from the 50s all the way up until the 90s, it was a nursing home. Then he bought it. Another timestamp for you. So he bought it and he wanted to remodel it and turn it into an apartment building. So at 8, 9 years old, I had the best sleepovers on the planet.
I bet.
Because we were actually living in it. Because if you're working on a building, what better way to go to work than just to walk outside your door? Bam, we're here. Let's get started.
No excuses, no days off.
Yeah, Mr. No Days Off. So yeah, we were living in a portion of the place while he worked on it, and I had like 60-something rooms to explore and play with. I think one night we went spelunking down the laundry chute.
So it was a big place.
Oh, it was a very big place, and living in there, I kind of got to experience 28 Days Haunted before I experienced 28 Days Haunted. You start seeing things and hearing things, and at that young age, I really wasn't exposed to. Well, I think at that young age, I would be more kind of fearful of things and curious because at that time, I was probably 95, 96. Long time ago. For those of you just tuning in that were born in 1999, the world existed before you.
Back in the late 1900s, I've heard that.
Yeah,
one.
back in the late 1900s. That's where all of us that were born in the late 1800s or the late 1980s. Wow.
Yeah.
We need to all start talking like crazy prospectors.
That's the way to do it right there.
Yeah. Well, see a pan for gold. It gets you about 50 cents.
Get on down here, sonny.
Yeah. If we keep this up, they'll name a football team after us.
Yeah.
So yeah, just being there in that time frame, there really wasn't a whole lot of people out there talking about like ghosts and paranormal and putting it on the forefront like we have today, where there's thousands of people that are somewhat knowledgeable in this subject area. So yeah, that kind of got the wheels turning, and from that point forward, I kind of grew up and fell in love with Halloween and spooky things while maintaining my handsome redneck appearance on the outside. But on the inside, I was this crazy weird guy that
You had your internal goth going on.
Yeah, I was a closet goth.
Is that a Chevy? No, it's a hearse. No.
It's a Chevrolet hearse. That thing got Hemi in it? I mean, that's pretty cool.
So after the experience that you had, with the show, you're doing an investigation, 28 days. Do you feel like the length of time in an investigation like that is beneficial?
It was very interesting how things kind of panned out for the three of us. After it was all said and done and posted online, they had Aaron, Sean, and myself on a podcast, and we all actually answered the same way. They're like, when did things really start picking up for you guys? And at the same time, all three of us said, around day 15. And we were like, what? Like, but it was the truth. I mean, around day 15, you started like tensions started flaring up between the three of us. And I remember it was around that time I was laying in bed at night and it was close to 4 a.m. And Aaron and Sean had been asleep for quite a while. I always was the night owl, staying up later and just going over audio and stuff, just trying to get a jump start on the data review. And I was just laying in bed and I heard somebody up walking around. That's weird.
Okay.
This house was built in 1754, so you could pinpoint which room this person was walking around in. Like
a place
where
like
they
that, you hear
start-
like every footstep, right?
Yeah, you could hear where they started, so it was easy to be like, oh, Sean's up, oh, Aaron's up. But these footsteps that night, they just kind of started in the hallway. It was like, I would have heard them get out of bed. It's interesting. And then they come down to my door. And at that time, I was just kind of like waiting. Here we go. And I was like making motions at the camera, like, look at the door, look at the door. And the door handle started jiggling. And I was like yelling at it. I'm like, my door handle's jiggling right now. This is awesome.
Anybody watching?
Yeah. That took some getting used to, having a camera watching you sleep.
Oh, yeah. So they watch nonstop.
They watch nonstop. And for the fellows out there listening, sometimes they knew I was awake before I was awake. Am I right, fellas? They're sitting in the trailer chewing something. I bet you Nick's going to get up soon. Oh, I'm thankful they cut that footage.
Yeah, right. Did you have any safe like areas in the house where if you could just like get away? Because I'm sure it's a lot. I don't know if it's like emotional, just stressful, just knowing that you're under camera 24/7. Like, was there like a corner of the house where you could stand? You know that nothing could watch you, just you could like stand there and be. I don't
Weird
know.
little guy.
Yeah, just a weird little guy farting in the corner.
Yeah,
you know.
the bathrooms were off limits, and there was cameras outside, like in our main like patio area, but you could go out the other door, and that's what I did every morning. I'd go out the other door and just stand out there and pound coffee and just kind of watch the sun come up and just kind of wake up myself, and then some little guy would come running around. Hey, put your lavalier on. I'm like, all right, fine, because that was always the game too, to see how long you could go without them yelling at you to put your lav on.
Now because you were there the whole day, you didn't investigate the whole time, did you? Like you weren't going through the day and all that nonstop.
No, but they did have us put those lavs on right away because they wanted to catch, an authentic conversation just as it unfolds between the three of us, because we are just kind of hanging out. And had anybody, randomly started chatting about, the investigation the night before or anything like that, they wanted to have that just in case it was something they wanted to use in the final cut.
That, and we want to make them sound like real people.
Yeah. They're not actually robots.
Now, what's next for you?
What's next for me? Hopefully we can get that XA50 out of hiding and film some more stuff. Now that I've kind of seen how they do things on the big time.
Oh yeah,
it's definitely a what'd you call it? Some bullets to put in the gun because we're in America.
Yeah.
You the ammunition to put into the firearm of creativity. There you go. That's nice. Oh, America
makes it kosher for our friends in England.
Yeah, wankers. Thanks for tuning in.
with that, do you want to do like start your own kind of production deal, or are you just more like YouTube type videos for your own group?
I just keep going with the YouTube stuff and giving back to people because I know what it's like to be on the struggle bus. And I think, asking people to pay for your documentary is that's a quick way to get them to not watch your documentary. But yeah, I'm good with just posting stuff on YouTube and just giving back and just documenting my adventures and having fun. Um, there's a lot of things that I learned from the show, and there's a lot of things that I still don't understand from the show. Like they always said, we're going into Ernst, and I'd always just sit there and look at them like, what does that mean? And then I've just never took it upon myself to Google
Yes,
what that means.
it's
when
just
it
a
comes
quick
to filming.
Google away.
Yeah. I'm going to do the right thing and not worry about it.
So, all the knowledge at your fingertips, I'll just forever wonder what they were talking about.
Yeah, we got to leave some mystery to life. But yeah, other than that, getting invited to go places and do things, that's always been exciting. Like I said earlier, I got invited to go to the Ed Gein jail just this past weekend, and then I got a couple other trips up to Wisconsin, and looking forward to those. And it's just, yeah, for me, it's about getting out there and just meeting people.
Are you hitting up like conventions and things like that now?
Yeah, the only conventions I have are both in Wisconsin. Woo, Midwest. Which is fine with me because I could just hop in the truck and zip up there and, pick up some cheese and sausage and beer. So it's a win-win.
If you ever want to head down to West Virginia, I live like 20 minutes from the West Virginia State Penitentiary.
Nice.
So.
Yeah. So a long time ago, I got to investigate, but I got to actually metal detect because I actually do that.
It wasn't just for the show.
Thing on the show. But I got to metal detect at James Madison's Mount Pillier, part of the archaeological program. They had a program where they teamed up with metal detectorists. That's a real word. They teamed up with us to locate some of the slave quarters on the property at Mount Pillier. So that was a big, cool thing for me, was to, be there and be part of that and help locate history that was long forgotten.
Yeah, that's really neat.
On our way back, we took 80 across. Never again. Pennsylvania and Interstate 80 into Pennsylvania is the dumbest road you've ever seen. So we went back and we cut through West Virginia. And the thing I picked up about West Virginia is every single exit in West Virginia has a beef jerky outlet on it.
Facts. We love jerky. If you don't, you just get out.
With the hard facts.
Even make soft beef jerky for those that ain't got no teeth.
You get that tenderfoot jerky.
It's like
you've had too much Mountain Dew and cigarettes in your life. Try that new tenderfoot jerky. I make fun of cigarettes because I used to be a smoker myself, and I actually got periodontal disease from it. So I'm not making fun of you. We're laughing together.
So what you're saying is you need to find some of that soft jerky?
I need soft jerky and some floss.
Hey, where can folks connect with you? Where can they get up with you online? Are you open to have conversation with folks if they reach out?
Absolutely open to talk with people. One thing I've always been able to do is get people laughing about something. I'm not a really funny guy, but I get people chuckling. So anybody wants to reach out to me, go ahead and reach out to me. You can find me anywhere on the internet at Big Nick Simons.
Big Nick Simons.
Nick Simons.
Now, what all are you on? I know you're on Twitter because that's where we talk. But TikTok, you just got blocked from a lady.
Yep. I have one video on TikTok, and that's just me proving that I'm me. So I took a screenshot of the show, then I green screened myself in, pointing at the picture of me, and just because I go on to a lot of paranormal lives and just talk to people on there. Oh, that's cool. Try doing this, blah, blah, blah. And that way, if people click on my page, they can see, oh, holy crap, the guy from Netflix was watching.
Oh, it is him. Look, he's
neat. I thought he was just 28 days of Nick for fun, for funsies.
It's a great name.
But yeah, just anybody wants to reach out to me on there. I don't bite. I won't heart react to anything. I'll actually comment back. That's the worst thing about the internet these days is like you post this long, serious thing that's got a lot of meaning to it, and then it gets 140 likes and 0 comments.
I'm not gonna lie. I think I've done that to you a few times.
Trying to start a conversation here, man.
Yeah. Well, you got to do you got to do a talk at a metal detecting group, right? And you're like, I've made it. I'm like, that's how you know.
Yeah, then I left you hanging just after
Yeah.
I just got done filibustering that nobody talks on the internet, and I just slammed you into the ground that night when you were trying to talk.
But it's all about the conversation.
My actual metal detecting club that I've been a member of since 2013, when they got wind that I went and did the show, they're like, we got to have you come talk at a club meeting. And I talked to like 9 people that night.
I do have to ask, side question. How old were those 9 people?
Well, I was, actually, one of the oldest guys there was like, I watched your show. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. My, actually, when the 28 days came out, my neighbors that live over, they're just my neighbors. They can't see me pointing which direction they live, but they're in their 80s, and they come out and they're like, Nicholas, we downloaded that Netflix thing so we can watch you. I was like, no way. That's cool. Thanks, you guys.
Did they like it?
They don't talk to me anymore. They liked it. They thought it was cool to see me on the screen.
We don't agree with what you're doing, Nick.
Yeah. They're big churchgoers, so they don't let me cut through their yard anymore. What I tell you about coming on the property, boy?
There's property lines for a reason.
Yeah, go on, get.
All right, I hate to cut this off, but we are out of time for this week. I would love to have you back. I've had a lot of fun.
Anytime.
As long as you're good with it. Appreciate you very much. Go check them out. 28 Days Haunted. I hear it's on that Netflix. It's worth your time.
That darn Netflix thing. You don't got to mail it in and get a disc in the mailbox anymore. You can just get it through your Roku device.
That's how old we are.
Yeah. Wait until Jordan and I get to tell you about get a CD for just a penny.
Right. Dude, I used to tear Netflix up back when it was just the disc that you mailed out. I couldn't figure out how they kept it in the little envelope because there was no seal to it. They just slide it in an envelope and put it back in the mail. How do they even get their disc back?
Yeah.
All right. I'm enough old. That's right, all you youngsters out there. I'm bald.
You guys had to be there. We single-handedly, our generation single-handedly sank Columbia House Records.
An entire
Everybody got
record company.
Get the CDs for a penny and never paid for them.
Facts. Facts. All right, Nick, you have a great night, man.
15 compact discs in the mail for nothing.
For nothing.
All you had to do was lick 15 stamps and stick it to a postcard.
Oh, do you remember chainmail?
Yeah.
You're like, you have to, like, you'd get a random, listen, all right, y'all, you would actually get a letter in the mail, and it'll say, like, you're going to have bad luck if you don't copy this and mail it to 10 different people. And, like, our genius
Jesus Christ is going to come to your house and kiss you right on the mouth.
We would literally print it out and mail it out just so nothing bad happened.
Yeah. I'm telling you guys had to be there. There was no podcast. It was just AM, FM radio.
Nothing wrong with AM.
Oh, AM's awesome. I love Coast to Coast. I mean, I think Coast to Coast is part of the reason why I am the way I am, is just having those old Art Bell shows and old local programming. That's the thing I miss, is local DJs.
You don't
Now
get it
that
anymore.
iHeart has swallowed everybody whole.
Everything. iHeart Clear Channel.
iHeart and Town Square has just swallowed everybody whole, and you don't have that local DJs talking about local things going on. You just have, hey, this is Jordan, or not you. Fine. I'll make fun of myself. Hey, this is Nick down in Georgia. Tune into the presidential debate. No, I want to hear what deals are going on down at Dan Viner Furniture, Rock Island, Illinois. All right, real quick. I should save this for the next spot.
All right, we'll save it for the next spot.
All right.
Hey, Nick, appreciate you, and we're going to have you back on.
I'll be here. You just let me know when and where.
All right, buddy. Have a good one.
You too.
And with that, the fire is out. Thank you so much, Nick. Thank all of you for listening, and I really appreciate y'all being patient with the shows. This EMT class has been taking a lot of my time, but, it's worth it. If you haven't yet connected with me on social media, Facebook is Fireside Paranormal Hub. That's the group. We have a lot of fun on there. I'm also on Instagram, Twitter, at Fireside Parapod, Parapod, TikTok, and Patreon. If you haven't joined our Patreon yet, you're missing out. Patreon.com/Fireside Paranormal. Lots of bonus audio, all the back interviews that aren't on the show, some behind the scenes audio with the guests, the interview only sections of the show. There's also merch and giveaways, things like that. So patreon.com/Fireside Paranormal. Check that out. FiresideParanormal.com. You can get all your sweet, sweet Fireside merch. And that is all the time we have for this week. So until next week, everybody, don't be afraid, only believe.